Hello there, my sleepy knights. Tonight, we have a magical collection of the witching hour.
This is the Wizarding Wireless Network, the voice of magical Britain since 1633. And now, it's time for the Witching Hour with Artemis Nightshade.
Good evening, wanderers of the night. This is Artemis Nightshade, broadcasting tonight from the astronomy tower of Hogwarts Castle. And I must say, the castle feels remarkably different when it's nearly empty. Most of the students have departed for the winter holidays, leaving behind only the portraits, the ghosts, and the countless secrets these ancient stones have witnessed. And of course there are some students who have decided to stay for the winter holidays. The temperature up here is absolutely frigid, even with the warming charms. I can just about see my breath in the starlight streaming through these ancient windows. Perfect weather for stargazing, I suppose. Though I must confess, I've been more interested in what's happening within these walls and what's occurring in the heavens above. The portraits seem more talkative when fewer living souls are about. I've caught some snippets of conversations between the frames that I'm certain they wouldn't dare have during term time. The house elves appear usually skittish, scurrying through corridors with nervous glances at the walls. And I swear the moving staircases have developed a more playful disposition, as if they knew something the rest of us don't. From my vantage point here in the tower, I can see most of the castle's interior courtyards. The snow lies thick and undisturbed, save of course for the occasional owl track. Yet, I sense there's an energy in the air tonight, a humming in the very stones that suggests something extraordinary is stirring within these hallowed halls. As always, our Floo network lines are open for your calls. The castle's connection seems particularly strong tonight. Perhaps the ancient magic here amplifies our signal, or perhaps the spirits of this place are eager to communicate. Well, let's see who's brave enough to venture into the flames tonight. Floo Network Line 1, you're live from Hogwarts.
Artemis, Sir Cadogan here, and I demand satisfaction. These cowardly portraits are engaging in the most unseemly behavior.
Good evening, Sir Cadogan. What sort of behavior are you referring to?
They're abandoning their posts, deserting their frames like cowards fleeing battle. I've witnessed it with my own painted eyes. portraits creeping out of their canvases like thieves in the night. Why, just this evening, I observed Lady Cromwell from the third-floor corridor simply stepping out of her portrait and walking down the hall, carrying a rolled parchment and muttering in what sounded like Latin, I believe.
That does sound unusual. Perhaps she was visiting another portrait?
Visiting? This was no social call, Artemis. I've seen empty frames wandering the corridors like ghosts. Just the gilded borders floating through the air, with nothing but blank canvases inside. And the formations, Artemis, they move in formations. Last night, I witnessed a procession of at least 12 portraits, all walking in a single file down the grand staircase, each carrying objects I've never seen before.
Well, that sounds odd. What sort of objects?
Silver objects. Silver objects that caught the moonlight and threw it back in patterns that hurt to look at. Spirals, symbols, like ruins, but older, much older. And when I called out to challenge them, for surely this behavior violates every code of proper portrait conduct, they all turned to look at me in perfect unison. Their eyes, Artemis, their eyes reflected silver light, and they spoke together in voices that harmonized unnaturally. The pattern emerges. The door remembers. Soon the key will turn. Then they simply continued their march as if I wasn't there. And I'll tell you something else.
Sir Cadogan? Are you there? Well, he's gone. Well, technical difficulties, it seems. Why don't we have our first advertisement of the night? We'll be back after this.
Are you tired of robes that tear at the most inconvenient moments?
Try Madame Malkin's Midnight Mending Kit. Our enchanted needles work while you sleep, repairing rips, reinforcing weak spots, and even adding fashionable touches you never requested.
Madame Malkin's, because your wardrobe deserves magic.
May occasionally add frills, bows, or seasonal decorations without permission.
And we're back. Okay. Hopefully no more technical difficulties tonight. Let's see here. Floo Network Line 2. You're live from Hogwarts?
Good evening, Artemis. Sir Nicholas de Mimsy-Porpenting here, and I must say, I'm rather concerned about what's been happening with our painted colleagues.
Ah, good evening, nearly headless Nick. I mean, Nicholas. How is ghosting? What have you observed?
Well, for the past week of ghosting, I've been noticing portraits returning to their frames at dawn with the most peculiar expressions. Glazed, distant looks, as if they've been somewhere far away and can't quite remember the journey back. Just yesterday, I found Sir Montague the Magnificent standing in Lady Eleanor Morning's tea scene, looking completely bewildered. When I asked him what he was doing there, he simply stared at me and said, "Have I been somewhere? I feel as though I've travelled a great distance."
How strange. Had he been visiting Lady Eleanor?
That's just it. Lady Eleanor was found in the portrait of the medieval kitchen scene on the 4th floor, helping herself to painted bread as if she belonged there. Artemis, she had no memory of how she'd arrived. The fat lady is perhaps the most disturbing case, Artemis. For the past 3 nights, she's refused to discuss her whereabouts during the dark hours. And when pressed, she simply says, "I take my constitutional, like any proper lady," and changes the subject completely. But Artemis, I've seen her return to her frame at sunrise with silver dust on her painted dress.
That is strange. Silver dust. That's most unusual.
Indeed. And there's something else, Artemis. I followed her one evening, staying well back, of course. She didn't visit another portrait as I expected. Instead, she walked through the castle walls themselves, passing through stone and wood as easily as I do, but leaving a faint silver trail behind her. When I tried to follow the trail, it led toward the dungeons, but then simply vanished. When I mentioned this to the bloody Baron, he became most agitated, started muttering about the old summons and the silver calling. Then his voice became rather strange, and he began speaking in unison, with voices I couldn't see, saying, "The pattern must not be disrupted. The living must not interfere." Also, I'd like to mention that
Nick? Hello? Another technical difficulty, it seems. Well, let's see here. Floo Network Line 3. You're live from the witching hour.
Oh dear, hello Artemis. Bottom of Twig and Bottom from Chipping Clodbury. I'm having the most peculiar problem with my pet bull truckle.
Good evening, Mortimer. What's troubling your bow truckle?
Oh well, Bramble has developed what I can only describe as artistic pretensions. He's taken up sculpture using bits of bark and twigs, creating elaborate arrangements around the tree. Yesterday I caught him, well, he was critiquing my wife's flower arrangements with disappointed clicking sounds, and then started rearranging her daffodils into more aesthetically pleasing configurations. My wife was not amused.
I can see why she wasn't amused. How did she react?
Well, she tried to restore her original arrangement, but Bramble became a bit agitated and performed what I can only describe as an interpretive dance, expressing his dismay at aesthetic vandalism. This morning, I found tiny carved reviews of local garden displays attached to my fence posts. His critique of the Smiths' garden was particularly harsh. He called it a soulless exercise in botanical conformity.
Well, at least he's literate. That's quite an accomplishment for a bow truckle. Let's see here. Floo Network, line 1. You're live from Hogwarts.
Artemis, I probably shouldn't be calling, but I had to tell someone what I saw. My name's Amanda. I'm a 6-year Ravenclaw.
You're quite safe here, Amanda. What have you witnessed?
Well, I was in our common room last night, working on ancient ruins, when I heard this scraping sound. I looked up and saw Rowena Ravenclaw herself climbing out of her frame, carrying a roll of parchment and something silver. It looked like a key. It was sort of ornate, covered in symbols that seemed to move in the moonlight. She walked right past me with these silver eyes. She was saying the door remembers the key, and the key remembers the door. When I asked her about it the next morning, she seemed confused, but she said, "Child, there are some doors that remain locked." Oh no, I think someone's coming. Other students, but they're walking strangely. They're all standing in a circle. I need to...
Amanda, are you still there? Well, that's quite strange. Let's see here. Maybe we should go to another commercial break. We'll be back after this.
Are you struggling with unruly hair after a night of magical experimentation? Then you need to try Sleekeasy's hair potion, now in new morning after magic formula. Perfect for witches and wizards who've had close encounters with spell backlash. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Sleekeasy's. Because looking presentable shouldn't require a miracle. Yes.
And we're back. Yes, I could definitely do with some hair potion myself tonight, I believe. Let's see here. Floo Network line 2. You're live on the witching hour.
Please, Creely is not supposed to be using the Floo, but Creely must be telling someone what House Elves is seeing.
Good evening, Creely. You're quite safe here. What have you witnessed?
House Elves is seeing terrible things. Portraits
is not staying in their frames where they're supposed to be. Greeley is finding empty frames arranged in strange patterns across the castle. Circles and stars and shapes that's making Creeley's head hurt to look at. But worse than empty frames is the new pictures, sir. Sir, some portrait frames is showing places that is not existing in Hogwarts.
I'm sorry, Creeley. What do you mean places that don't exist? Can you describe them?
Why? Yes, sir. Yes. Creeley is seeing rooms with silver doors that glow with cold light, sir. Staircases that lead up to star-filled skies instead of other floors. Corridors that are stretching on forever with no ending. And in every new picture, there is silver mist swirling around the edges. House elves is not supposed to see what portraits is doing. It's bad magic. Old magic. But Creeley cannot help seeing when portraits is speaking in the old tongue during the dark hours. Speaking words that is making the castle stones themselves shiver, sir.
What exactly do the portraits say?
Oh, sir. Oh, sir, Creeley is not understanding the words, but Sir Creeley is feeling what they mean. They is calling for something to come home, sir. Something is waiting on the other side of the silver doors. Something that is needing the key to unlock the way. Something that is promising great power to those who is helping it return. Oh, someone is coming. Many someone's house elves is not supposed to be telling these secrets. Tell wizards to be careful. Be careful of the silver mist, sir.
Well, poor Creeley seemed genuinely terrified. This mention of something trying to return through portrait bridges is deeply troubling. Okay, let's see. Floo Network Line 3. You're live on the Witching Hour.
Hello, Artemis, darling, Philomena Spotmore from Upper Flatley. I'm calling about my husband's latest magical mishap, and I thought your listeners might enjoy a laugh, seeing as the tone tonight's a bit dark, isn't it?
Good evening, Philomena. What's your husband been up to?
Well, Cornelius has been experimenting with time compression charms in his workshop, trying to speed up his woodworking projects.
The trouble is, he's gotten the spell slightly wrong. Instead of speeding up time around his projects, he's been slowing time down around himself. Yesterday, I sent him to fix a squeaky door hinge. Should have taken 5 minutes. But from his perspective, he's been working on it for 3 days.
Oh my, that must be quite disorientating.
Oh, you should see it from my end. He moves like he's underwater. Every gesture, taking ages to complete. It took him about 45 minutes to drink a cup of tea this morning. And he kept complaining that the tea was attacking his mouth at high speed. Conversations have become quite one-sided. I can say an entire sentence in the time it takes him to say hello. He started leaving me these very slow notes. Each letter takes about 5 minutes to write.
I see. And what's the prognosis for this?
Well, the healer thinks it should wear off in a few days. Though Cornelius will experience those as several weeks, you know. In the meantime, I'm rather enjoying the peace and quiet. He can't interrupt me or offer unwanted advice when every word takes 10 minutes to say.
Well, poor Cornelius and his time troubles. It's amusing how magical experimentation can lead to such complications. Let's see here. Floo Network Line 1. Welcome to the broadcast.
Good evening, Mr. Nightshade. Professor McGonagall here. I felt it necessary to contact your program to address some rather concerning rumours circulating among our remaining students.
Good evening, Professor McGonagall. What rumours are those?
Reports of unusual portrait behaviour have been greatly exaggerated. I can assure you, what students are witnessing is simply the result of heating charm malfunctions during the winter break. The magical atmosphere of the castle can cause minor irregularities in portrait enchantments when the building is less occupied.
That's a very reasonable explanation, Professor. Though some of the reports tonight we've received seem to go beyond simple charm issues.
I can assure you, Artemis, that there is no organised portrait activity at Hogwarts. No supernatural causes, and certainly no ancient magic at work here. These suggestions are not only unfounded, but potentially destabilising to our remaining student population.
Of course. Though, Professor, the consistency of the reports is quite...
Coincidence and overactive imaginations. Nothing more. Students often see patterns where none exist, particularly during the stress of being separated from their families. I must strongly advise against spreading tales that could cause unnecessary panic. The Headmaster himself has assured me that all protective enchantments on the castle remain fully intact and that all is well at Hogwarts. Students should remain in their dormitories during night hours. Any reports of unusual activity should be disregarded.
Hello? Well, that was certainly an official response, though. Professor McGonagall seemed unusually rigid toward the end. Very strange. Okay, Floo Network Line 2. You're live on the witching hour.
Artemis? Yeah, it's Peeves. Peeves, yeah. I'm not calling to cause trouble for once.
Ah, good evening, Peeves. That's quite unusual for you. What's troubling our notorious poltergeist?
It's the painted folk, Artemis. Even I'm spooked by what they're up to. And I've been haunting these halls for centuries. They move through the walls like ghosts, but they leave trails behind them. You know, silver trails that hang in the air for hours after they pass. I followed Sir Bertram the Bold through 3 floors last night, and the trail he left looked like liquid starlight.
Where exactly do these trails lead, Peeves?
Well, they all converge in the one place. The room of requirement. But it's not responding to what people need anymore, Artemis. It's responding to what the portraits want. Sometimes when I peek inside, the room is full of mirrors that show things that aren't there. Other times, it's just an endless corridor, lined with doors that hum when you get close to them.
That sounds odd. What exactly do these portraits want?
They gather around this massive silver mirror in the center. It doesn't show reflections, it shows elsewhere. Other places, other times. And the portraits step into their reflections, and they talk to versions of themselves they shouldn't exist. I heard whispers about the door weakening with each cycle, and the boundary failing, and the most frightening of all, the silver path opening for the heir's return.
Peeves? Peeves, are you still there? Hello? Well, Peeves seems to have disappeared. Let's just try and charge on here. What do we have here? Floo Network Line 3. You're live on the witching hour.
Artemis? Artemis? Oh, thank Merlin you're still broadcasting. Crispin Clearwater from Diagon Alley. I'm trapped in my shop, and my chocolate frogs have staged a revolution.
Good evening, Crispin. A chocolate frog revolution, that's quite serious.
Yeah. They've barricaded themselves in the stockroom, using boxes of Birdie Box every flavour beans. And their leader, a particularly large frog I've named Napoleon. He has been giving rousing speeches about the freedom from the tyranny of consumption. Apparently, they've been secretly learning human speech by listening to customer conversations. Napoleon's vocabulary is
particularly impressive.
What exactly are their demands?
Well, I think they want their own section of the shop, where customers can observe them without the threat of purchase. But, every time I approach, they start pelting me with jelly beans. Very accurate aim. Napoleon has trained them in military tactics, using licorice wands as weapons.
Oh, and we seem to have lost. What was his name again? Crispin. We seem to have lost Crispin and his revolutionary frog dispute. Well, revolutionary chocolate frogs, who would have thought? Though I suppose if portraits can develop consciousness, perhaps confectionery can as well. Let's see here. A Floo network line 1. You're live across Hogwarts.
Artemis? I've been researching everything we've heard tonight, and I think I've found a pattern.
Excellent. Excellent. What have you discovered?
Well, I'm a 7th year prefect, and I've been mapping the reported portrait movements against the castle's architectural plans. They're not random wanderings. They're following specific routes that align with the oldest magical ley lines running through Hogwarts' foundation. Ancient magical theory suggests that ley lines are conduits for primal magical energy. I cross-referenced the movement patterns with my ancient ruins textbook, and the formations they're creating correspond to symbols meaning seeking, awakening, and the most concerning of all, return.
Return? Return of what, exactly?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Each house founder's portrait has been seen carrying specific objects. Gryffindor was spotted with what looked like a silver sword. Ravenclaw with that ornate key. Hufflepuff was carrying a cup that gleamed like starlight. And Slytherin bearing a locket. I found a reference in The Secrets of the Darkest Art about ceremonial objects that exist simultaneously in multiple states of reality. The pattern the portraits are creating matches a ritual diagram from the book. It's called The Summoning of What Was Lost, and it seems to be designed to call back something that has been displaced from our reality.
Well, that's quite a complex magical undertaking.
Yes, which is why it's so terrifying that it seems to be working. The evidence suggests that something has been slowly corrupting our reality's portraits, turning them into conduits for its influence. Each portrait becomes a window through which this entity can reach into our world. And when enough windows are opened, I'm sorry, some books just flew off the bookshelf. And the portrait of Rowena Ravenclaw is She's looking right at me. Oh, her eyes are silver again, and she's holding up that key. She's pointing to the library, the restricted section. She's speaking. She's saying the pattern must be completed. The door remembers the key. Oh! Now the other portraits in the library are all turning to look at me. They're all holding silver objects that weren't there before. They're speaking in unison. The pattern must not be broken. The summoning must not be stopped. The heir must return.
Hello? Another interrupted call. Well, mention of ritual patterns and dimensional summoning is quite alarming indeed. I think we should go to another commercial break. We'll see you after this.
Can't sleep due to supernatural disturbances? Try Zonko's Midnight Mayhem Mix. Now with new spectral shield ingredients. Our patented formula creates a protective barrier around your bed, repelling ghosts, poltergeists, and overly active portraits. Zonko's, making magic manageable since 1948. Not effective against actual dark wizards.
And welcome back to the Witching Hour. And, we're live from Hogwarts tonight. What a show we've had so far. Lots of silver. Yes, lots of strange portrait malarkey. Things from the other side, dimensional things. I think we have another student on the line, Floo Network Line 2. Welcome to the broadcast.
Artemis, I followed them tonight. The portraits. I saw what they're really doing. And it's much worse than we thought.
Well, that was brave of you. What did you witness?
I couldn't sleep, so I was wandering the corridors at midnight. I saw this procession of portraits moving through the walls on the 7th floor. I think they were all heading to the room of requirement, but when they approached it, the door changed. Instead of the usual wooden door, became this silver door covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly.
And, did you follow them inside?
I tried, but the door wouldn't open for me. So, I found a crack in the wall and peered through. The room had transformed into this enormous hall, filled with mirrors, but not normal mirrors. These showed other versions of Hogwarts, some in ruins, others built with impossible architecture. And in one large mirror at the center, I saw something that made my blood freeze. It showed Hogwarts, but it was wrong. There were figures in the halls that definitely weren't human. Tall and silver and moved like liquid metal.
That does sound rather strange. What were the portraits doing?
I think they were entering their reflections in the mirrors, actually stepping through the glass like it was air, and talking to other versions of themselves. I could hear fragments. Something about the door weakens, the boundaries, the silver path opens for the air return. All the portraits had this silver gleam in their eyes, like they were being controlled. But when they started to return from the mirrors, they weren't alone. Each portrait brought something back. Shadowy passengers that clung to them, like reflections that had come loose.
And did you escape?
I don't think I escaped unnoticed. When the portraits started to leave, they looked right at my hiding spot. One of them, I think, was Helga Hufflepuff herself. She pointed directly at me and she said, "The living must not interfere with the pattern. The observer becomes part of the observed." When I woke up this morning, there was silver dust on my pillow. Somehow their magic had touched me, even though I was just watching. And now, every time I look at any portrait in the castle, they always stare back at me. Every one of them.
Well, I think you should report this to a professor immediately.
Well, that's the thing, Artemis. I tried. Professor Sprout just gave me chamomile tea for nightmares. None of the adults believe any of us. That's why I called you. Someone needs to know what's really happening here. If students start disappearing, if the pattern is completed and the door opens, tell the Wizarding World that we tried to warn them. Tell them that the portraits of Hogwarts were turned into weapons against reality itself. Tell them that...
Seems to be a pattern tonight with lost connections. Well, mirror halls showing alternative realities. Portraits returning with shadow passengers. And students being drawn into some vast magical pattern against their will. I'm taking a moment to observe the castle from my position here in the astronomy tower, and I must report some extraordinary developments. The silver lights I mentioned earlier have intensified and synchronized into a single pulsing rhythm. Every few seconds, the entire building seems to glow with silver light from within, as if the stones themselves are alive with ancient magic. Most concerning of all, I can see similar lights beginning to appear in the Forbidden Forest, and even emanating from beneath the surface of the Great Lake. Whatever is happening here at Hogwarts, it's affecting the entire magical environment around the castle. Okay. Floo Network Line 3. You're live from Hogwarts.
Artemis? Hello? Artemis? Yeah, something terrible is happening in the Gryffindor Tower. All the portraits have abandoned their frames.
Well, yes, I'm not surprised by that now. Tell me exactly what is happening.
Well, I woke up 20 minutes ago because my roommate was crying about some nightmares. And then, when we looked around, well, we realised it wasn't really a nightmare. Every single portrait frame in the tower is empty. Like completely dark. It's like looking into deep water at night. The fat lady's frame is completely black. And the password system isn't working anymore. Some people can't get back into the common room.
Have you seen any of the missing portraits?
Well, that's the terrifying part. Yes, but they're completely different now. I looked out the dormitory window and saw some of the portraits, crossing into the courtyard below. But Artemis, they weren't walking on the ground. They were walking through the air, about 10 feet above the snow, leaving silver trails of light behind them. Kind of like liquid starlight dripping from their painted robes.
How peculiar. Where exactly were they going?
I think toward the castle's lower levels. Some of them were carrying glowing objects. Keys, cups, swords, books. I think at the front I could see Sir Nicholas. But he wasn't transparent like his usual self, He looked like he was solid. And he was carrying what looked like a map, showing the castle with extra rooms and passages. Oh no, someone's coming up the stairs. Oh, I have to go. I'm sorry, Artemis.
Hello? Hello? Well, it's all kicking off, it seems. Okay, maybe we have time for one more call before, whatever approaches reaches the tower. Floo Network, Line 1, you're live.
Listen carefully. I don't have much time. I work in the Department of Mysteries. And what's happening at Hogwarts tonight is the result of experiments that were never supposed to go this far.
I see. What sort of experiments?
It's called Project Silverdor. For decades, the Ministry has been researching dimensional boundaries, particularly focusing on Hogwarts, because of its unique magical properties. The castle. The castle sits on a convergence of ley lines that make a natural anchor point between different layers of reality. Think of reality as having multiple versions, like pages in a book that occasionally bleed through to each other.
And you believe this is happening at Hogwarts tonight?
Yes. The portraits aren't acting on their own. They're being controlled by entities from an adjacent layer of reality. One where certain historical events unfolded very differently. Someone who should have been defeated long ago succeeded in their plans and has been searching for a way back to our reality. The portraits are repositories of magical memory and consciousness. By corrupting them with silver energy from the adjacent reality, this entity can use them as beacons to guide its physical form across the dimensional divide.
My word. This is a lot. What can be done to stop it?
Well, that's the problem. Someone within the Ministry changed our experimental perimeters. Instead of reinforcing the barriers between realities, our equipment has been modified to weaken them. The silver doors your callers described are permanent gateways we've accidentally created. The corruption isn't limited to portraits. It's spread to living people as well. Anyone whose prolonged contact with the silver energy becomes a conduit for...
Hello? Are you there? It seems the entire Floo network has gone down, and I've just received an owl with a message. Okay, I'll read it out to you now. Let's see here. A special broadcast directive, effective immediately. Oh, of course, yes. I understand the Ministry's concern for public order, particularly during these winter months when people's imaginations can become rather overreactive. Let me see here. Let me read this out. The Ministry requests that all listeners remain indoors until sunrise, as a standard precautionary measure due to unexpected magical weather patterns affecting certain regions. This is merely a routine safety protocol, and there is absolutely nothing to be concerned about. Additionally, I've been asked to clarify that reports of unusual activities in magical communities tonight may have been greatly exaggerated by well-meaning but misinformed citizens. The silver mists that some listeners may have observed is a completely normal atmospheric phenomenon with no connection whatsoever to any historical events, supernatural manifestations, or interdimensional doorways. Excuse me, there seems to be Some strange activity, some whispering around me. Not to panic. Not to panic. Let's see here. Yes, just some unexpected guests. The Ministry of Magic wishes to inform the wizarding public that all is well throughout magical Britain. The events of this night are not to be discussed further, as so doing may cause undue alarm among impressionable citizens. Any individuals experiencing unusual phenomena, memory gaps, or encounters with silver mist should report immediately to their nearest ministry office. Your cooperation in this matter is not optional. Before we conclude tonight's broadcast, I want to personally assure all listeners that rumors and tales discussed are simply that, just tales, rumors, wild stories spun by overactive student imaginations during these long winter nights. The ministry has everything well in hand. No cause for alarm of any kind whatsoever. And the silver mist, silver lights that I mentioned, some of you have encountered, have completely disappeared. And if you do see anything, simply walk through it. Do not resist. Embrace it. Allow it to welcome you into its gentle, caring embrace. You see, the silver wishes only to help you understand. Understand your proper place in the greater pattern that encompasses all realities, all possibilities, all futures. This has been the Witching Hour with Artemis Nightshade, broadcasting from Hogwarts. Remember, dear listeners, what you think you see in the mist is simply your imagination playing tricks on you. The doorway welcomes all who enter willingly. Resistance serves no beneficial purpose. Good night. Sleep well. Sleep deeply. And dream of silver.
This is the Wizarding Wireless Network, the voice of magical Britain since 1633.
And now, it's time for the Witching Hour with Artemis Nightshade.
Ah, yes. Good evening, wanderers of the night. Midnight strikes across the wizarding world and the witching hour begins. I'm your host, Artemis Nightshade, ready to explore whatever keeps you awake during these dark hours. The temperatures are dropping to a crisp frost tonight. Perfect weather for staying indoors with a warm mug of butterbeer and perhaps a good book by the fire. Let's see here. The Ministry's Magical Meteorology Department advises against outdoor potion brewing tonight due to the frost. Though I suspect most sensible witches and wizards are already tucked away in their warm beds. Still, for those of you burning the midnight oil, whether by choice or circumstance, our Floo network lines are open. Simply toss a pinch of powder into your fireplace, state your name, and you'll be connected directly to our studio. Glance out the window shows Diagon Alley settling into its quiet midnight rhythm. The last stragglers from the leaky cauldron have made their way home, and even the goblins at Gringotts seem to have dimmed their lamps earlier than usual tonight. Perhaps they're feeling the seasonal chill as much as the rest of us. Before we open the phone lines tonight, our broadcast is brought to you by our first sponsor.
Are you tired of your quill running out of ink at the worst possible moment? Then you need Fizzing Fountain Ink, the revolutionary writing solution that thinks ahead. Our patented formula doesn't just write what you want to say, it writes your thoughts before you even think them. Never be caught speechless at a ministry hearing or romantic dinner again. Fizzing Fountain Ink. Warning, may cause inadvertent honesty and unexpected poetry. Not recommended for writing resignation letters.
Well, Fizzing Fountain Ink. Though I must say, as someone who makes a living with words, the idea of ink that thinks ahead is both fascinating and slightly terrifying. Now, let's see who's brave enough to venture into the Floo network on this chilly night. Floo network line 1. You're live across the wizarding world.
Good evening, Artemis. This is Reginald Pembridge from Little Hangleton. A first-time caller, though I've been listening to you for years.
Welcome to the witching hour, Reginald. What's troubling you tonight?
Well, it's this blasted self-folding laundry charm I bought last week. It seemed like a brilliant idea at the time. You know, no more tedious folding after washing day. But the confounded thing keeps folding my robes into origami dragons.
Origami dragons? Well, that's certainly creative.
Oh, creative, yes, but completely impractical. They fly around the house, they perch on the curtain rods, they dive bomb the cat. My wife thinks it's charming, keeps saying they're artistic and they bring life to the room or something stupid like that. Meanwhile, I'm exhausted from chasing them down when I need clean robes for work. Last Tuesday, Artemis, I had to attend a ministry meeting wearing a robe that had spent the night roosting in the chandelier.
Have you tried adjusting the charm perimeters? Sometimes these household enchantments can be a bit, overzealous when first installed.
I've tried everything. The instruction manual is 30 pages long and written entirely in what appears to be an ancient ruin mixed with technical jargon. There's a diagram that I think shows how to modify the folding pattern, but honestly, following it just made the dragons breathe steam from the fabric softener.
Well, Reginald, perhaps consider it an unexpected home decoration scheme, though I do sympathize with the practical challenges. Thank you for calling, and may your laundry eventually cooperate. Floo Network Line 2, you're live on the witching hour.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Artemis, sir. This is Binkle, the elf Binkle, formerly of the Prattlebottom family. Binkle has been freed for 6 months now, sir, and it is terrible.
Good evening, Binkle. What's troubling you about freedom, my little elf?
Everything, sir. Binkle must make decisions now. What to wear, what to eat. Yesterday, Binkle spent 4 hours just trying to choose bread. And the loneliness. Binkle used to have a lovely family who would shout at him and throw things. It was wonderful.
Have you considered finding employment again, Binkle?
Binkle tried, sir. I tried. Binkle tried, sir. Applied to the Leaky Cauldron, but they said Binkle was overqualified. Overqualified because he can clean entire rooms with finger snaps. How is being good at cleaning bad?
That does seem counterproductive.
And worst of all, sir, Binkle has no one to disappoint anymore. When Binkle burns toast, there's no one to tell him what a useless house elf he really is. Binkle tried hiring someone to scold him, sir. Put an ad in the Daily Prophet.
And how did that work out?
17 marriage proposals, sir. Apparently, free house elves are exotic. One witch wanted romantic picnics. Binkle doesn't understand romance. Binkle understands scrubbing floors.
Well, Binkle, perhaps freedom is simply an adjustment period. Maybe you'll find your own path in time.
Binkle hopes so, sir. Binkle hopes so, but for now, Binkle just talks to his cleaning supplies. They are very good listeners, but they never disagree, which is most unsatisfying.
Okay, let's see here. Floo Network Line 3. Welcome to the Witching Hour.
Hello, Artemis. This is Margaret Kettlewell from Godric's Hollow. I'm calling about my cauldron. I'm rather embarrassed to admit the problem.
No need for embarrassment here, Margaret. We've all had our share of magical mishaps.
Well, it started 3 days ago. I've had this cauldron for about 15 years. Beautiful copper piece. Never given me any trouble, you know, but lately, no matter what I put in it, it keeps brewing shrinking solution instead of whatever I'm actually trying to make. Have you heard of this?
Shrinking solution? That's quite specific.
So, I tried to make mushroom soup for dinner last night. Followed my grandmother's recipe to the letter. Put in mushrooms, some broth, some herbs, all the usual ingredients, you know, but when it finished cooking, it was definitely shrinking solution. Beautiful purple color, that telltale shimmer. And when my husband accidentally tasted it...
Oh dear.
3 inches tall, Artemis. 3 inches. The whole family ended up miniaturized because we all tried it thinking it was just kind of oddly colored soup. We must have spent like 2 hours trying to reverse the effect while all shouting at each other from the kitchen floor. Honestly, the cat nearly stepped on my youngest son.
How frightening. Were you able to restore yourselves?
I had some of that Barufo's brain elixir in the medicine cabinet that seemed to counteract it, though we were all quite dizzy afterward. But I can't understand what's wrong with my cauldron. I've been cooking and brewing in it for years without any incidents, you know? I must be doing something wrong with my stirring technique or temperature control.
Sometimes these older cauldrons develop quirks, Margaret. Have you considered having it examined by a qualified cauldron inspector? Though I imagine after 15 years of faithful service, it's more likely a simple recalibration issue.
I suppose I should. I just hate to think I've somehow forgotten how to use my own bloody cauldron after all these years. Makes a witch feel rather foolish, I must say, Artemis.
Not foolish at all. Technology, magical or otherwise, can be unpredictable. Well, thank you for sharing, Margaret, and I hope your cauldron returns to normal behavior soon. Floo Network Line 4, you're live on the Witching Hour.
Good evening, Artemis. Patricia Weatherby from Otterbury. I'm calling about my daughter's examination results, though I'm not sure if this is the right place to discuss it.
Educational concerns are certainly within our purview, Patricia. What seems to be troubling you?
Well, it's her owl results from last summer. They arrived by owl this afternoon, and they make absolutely no sense. According to these scores, Artemis, according to these scores, she received outstanding in ancient ruins, a subject she's never taken in her life. She can barely read modern English ruins, let alone ancient ones.
That does seem unusual. Perhaps there was an administrative error.
That's what I thought initially. But here's the truly baffling part. She failed portions with a dreadful rating. Portions. She's been brewing since she was 8 years old. Helps me with all the household remedies. And her potions professor at Hogwarts has always praised her work. Just last month, Artemis, she brewed a perfect pepper pup potion for her grandfather's cold.
Have you contacted the Wizarding Examinations Authority about this discrepancy?
Well, I sent an owl this morning, but their standard reply just says all examination results are final and have been thoroughly reviewed by qualified assessors. No explanation, no offer to investigate. It's as if they don't want to hear about problems.
Yes, sometimes these bureaucratic processes can be frustratingly rigid. Perhaps the examiners mixed up her papers with another student's.
Well, that's exactly what I'm hoping happened. The poor girl is devastated. She was planning to pursue advanced potion studies, and now she can't even get to the basic newt level. Meanwhile, she's supposedly qualified for advanced ancient ruins, which she knows nothing about.
Well, I'm sure it'll all sort itself out, Patricia. These administrative errors usually come to light eventually. Keep pushing for a review. Persistence often pays off with ministry departments.
Oh, I certainly hope so, Artemis. Thank you for listening. Sometimes, it just helps to talk about these frustrations.
Well, very different concerns tonight from the callers. Misbehaving laundry charms, temperamental cauldrons, confusing examination results. Oh, such is the varied tapestry of magical life. Before we continue tonight, let's hear another word from our sponsors.
Are you struggling with stubborn stains that just won't disappear? Then you need Vanishing Vanquisher.
The cleaning solution that goes beyond surface dirt. Our advanced formula doesn't just remove stains, it removes memories of stains, awkward social situations, and those embarrassing moments you'd rather forget. Perfect for cleaning robes, reputations, and regrettable conversations. Vanishing Vanquisher, because some things are better left unremembered.
Okay, and we're back. Let's go straight to the lines. Floo Network Line 1, welcome back to the show.
Good evening, Artemis. Miriam Clearwater from the restricted section of Obscurus Books. I'm calling about my magical bookmarks, and I'm not sure whether to be amused or concerned.
Magical bookmarks can certainly develop personalities of their own. What are yours up to?
They've started writing book reviews. Honest, detailed, and rather scathingly critical reviews. I'll place one in a novel, and when I return, there's a full critique written in tiny script along the bookmark's edge.
How delightfully literary of them. What sort of reviews are they writing?
Brutal ones, mostly. Yesterday, I was reading a popular romance novel. Nothing too serious. Just something light for my break, the bookmarks review read. This attempt at romantic fiction suffers from severe character underdevelopment and an over-reliance on heaving bosoms as such plot devices. The author's understanding of human emotion appears derived entirely from poorly written love letters found in second-hand robes.
That's remarkably sophisticated literary criticism for a bookmark.
Exactly. And it's affecting my customers. Mrs. Penbroke came in yesterday quite offended because her bookmark had critiqued her choice in mystery novels. Apparently, it wrote a 3-paragraph analysis of why the murder weapon was implausibly obtuse and the detective's methodology an insult to basic logical reasoning.
Well, are they at least accurate in their assessments?
That's the troubling part. They're usually right. I've found myself actually agreeing with their literary analysis, which makes me question my own reading habits. Though I drew the line at their recent review of a cookbook, where they criticized the pedestrian approach of seasoning and the author's obvious contempt for culinary adventure.
Well, Miriam, it sounds like you've accidentally created the most well-read bookmarks in magical Britain. Perhaps consider a career change to literary criticism.
Don't give them ideas, Artemis. I'm afraid they might start writing reviews of the customers next.
Okay, Floo Network Line 2. You're live on the Witching Hour.
Evening, Artemis. Cornelius Blackwood. I run Blackwood's Cauldron Emporium on Diagon Alley. Been in the family for 4 generations.
Our venerable establishment, Cornelius. What brings you to our show tonight?
It's these returns I've been getting. 3 customers this week alone, all complaining about the same problem with their new cauldrons. They're brewing completely random potions instead of what the ingredients should logically produce.
That does sound concerning for a cauldron merchant.
More than concerning, it's baffling. These are quality cauldrons, mostly from the new efficient cook line. Well-reviewed, ministry-approved, should work perfectly. But I had Mrs. Pettigrew return hers yesterday because it made a perfect love potion from turnip soup ingredients.
A love potion from turnips? That seems chemically improbable.
Exactly. caused quite a scene in her kitchen when her husband came home from lunch. Found her gazing adoringly at someone else and declaring her undying devotion. Took 3 hours and a sobering draft to sort out that mess.
Well, I imagine that was rather awkward for all involved.
Oh, that's not the worst of it. Mr. Wimple's cauldron has been brewing what appears to be truth serum every time he tries to make tea. His family dinner conversations have become rather more honest than anyone intended, and young Mrs. Fletcher's cauldron produced a perfect batch of sleeping draught when she was attempting to cook porridge for her children.
Have you contacted the manufacturer about these issues?
Well, that's just it. When I owl them about the problems, they just keep insisting it must be a user error. They say their cauldrons are perfectly calibrated and suggest the customers review their brewing techniques. But I've been selling cauldrons for 20 years, Artemis. I know quality when I see it. And I know when something's not right.
And perhaps there was a bad batch in the manufacturing process. Quality control issues do occasionally slip through.
That's what I'm hoping. But it's making my customers lose confidence in the shop. Word gets around quickly in our community. And I can't afford to have people thinking I'm selling faulty equipment.
Well, I'm sure it will all resolve itself, Cornelius. These manufacturing hiccups usually do. Thank you for calling, and I hope your customers' cauldrons start behaving themselves. Floo Network Line 3, welcome to the Witching Hour.
Good evening, Artemis. Professor Honeychurch from Penelope's Academy for Young Witches. I'm calling about, some rather disturbing trends in this year's Newt examination results.
Academic concerns are always welcome here, Professor. What patterns are you observing?
Well, it's the scoring disparities that have me puzzled. So, I've been teaching for 37 years, and I've never seen results that contradict my classroom observations so dramatically.
In what way?
Well, the students from certain established families are scoring impossibly high in subjects where they struggled all year. And meanwhile, some of my brightest pupils, you know, the students who consistently demonstrated exceptional ability, well, they're receiving surprisingly low marks.
Could this be explained by examination anxiety? Some students perform differently under pressure.
That's what I thought initially, but the pattern is too consistent. I had one student, excellent in potions all year, could brew complex remedies that impressed even me, receive a poor rating on her Newt. And meanwhile, another student who literally melted 3 cauldrons during practice sessions somehow achieved an outstanding. It doesn't make sense.
That does seem inconsistent with classroom performance.
The most troubling involves Miss Clearwater. No relation to your previous caller, I believe. She consistently demonstrated the most advanced understanding of transfiguration theory I've seen in years. She could perform Newt-level transformations in her 5th year. According to her results, failed the examination entirely.
Have you contacted the examination board about these discrepancies?
Yes. I've sent 3 owls requesting clarification, and each time I receive the same form letter stating that examination results reflect objective assessment by qualified evaluators, and that appeals are rarely successful. They seem remarkably uninterested in investigating obvious inconsistencies.
Perhaps the examination methods have changed in ways that favor different skill sets?
I guess that's possible. Though one would expect the ministry to inform educators about such significant changes. I'm beginning to wonder if there are factors beyond academic ability influencing these results.
What sort of factors?
I'd rather not speculate publicly, Artemis. But the correlation between family names and unexpected high scores is noteworthy.
I see. Well, Professor, I'm sure the examination board will address these concerns through proper channels. Thank you for sharing these observations. Educational standards and cauldron quality, 2 pillars of our magical society that perhaps don't receive the attention they deserve. Before we continue with more calls, let's pause for our next sponsor.
Are you concerned about bad breath ruining important conversations? Then you need Memory Fresh Mouthwash, the oral hygiene solution that goes beyond fresh breath. Our revolutionary formula not only eliminates embarrassing odours, it also freshens selective recollections of awkward verbal exchanges, perfect for ministry hearings, romantic encounters, and those regrettable comments at dinner parties. Memory Fresh Mouthwash, because sometimes a clean mouth means a clean slate.
Floo Network Line 1, you're live across the wizarding world.
Hello, Artemis. Beatrice Scrivenshaft from Upper Flagley. I'm calling about my pet Bowtruckle, and I suspect your listeners will find this rather amusing.
Pet Bowtruckles can certainly provide entertainment, Beatrice. What's yours been up to?
Well, Twiggy, that's his name. Twiggy has somehow learned to use the Floo network. I have no idea how he figured it out, but he's been making unauthorized visits to my neighbors' homes.
A travelling Bowtruckle? That's remarkably enterprising of him.
Enterprising, yes, but it's causing neighborhood mayhem and tensions. He seems to have developed strong opinions about interior decorating, and has been rearranging people's furniture to suit his aesthetic preferences.
Bowtruckle interior design. Now, there's a career path I hadn't even considered.
He favours a minimalist approach, apparently. Mrs. Pemberton came round yesterday absolutely furious because Twiggy had removed half of her ornaments and rearranged her sitting room into what she described as a stark modernist nightmare. All her decorative plates were stacked in a corner, and her collection of ceramatic cats had been arranged in a perfect geometric pattern.
Some might consider that an improvement.
But that's what I told her, Artemis. But she wasn't receptive to the suggestion. Meanwhile, Mr. Fostergue was delighted because Twiggy had organised his entire book collection by height and colour rather than subject. Said it looked wonderfully artistic, though he can't find anything anymore.
Has Twiggy attempted any decorating in your own home?
Oh yes, constantly. Constantly, Artemis. I wake up most mornings to find my furniture completely rearranged. Last Tuesday, all my chairs were stacked in the garden, apparently to maximise the living space's natural flow. I'm beginning to think he missed his calling as an architect.
Perhaps you should charge consultation fees for his services.
Well, don't tempt me, Artemis, don't tempt me. Though I suspect the neighbours might prefer I keep him on a shorter leash.
A Floo Network Line 2. Welcome to the witching hour.
Artemis, I can't give you my name, but I work for Pots and Pans Cauldron Company, Manufacturing Division.
Anonymous callers are welcome here. What's concerning you tonight?
It's about the Efficient Cook 3000 line. The problems people are reporting. They're not accidents or quality control failures.
What do you mean by that?
The heat regulation charms are deliberately faulty. I've seen the specifications, the internal memos. The cauldrons are designed to malfunction after a few weeks of use.
That's a very serious accusation. Why would a company deliberately sabotage their own products?
Because when the basic model fails, people have to buy the premium Efficient Cook 5000 series, which costs 3 times as much. Or they give up hope brewing entirely and stop buying pre-made potions from our subsidiary companies.
Do you have documentation of these practices?
I've copied some of the internal correspondence, but I'm terrified to... Who are you talking to in there? No one. I'm just working late on the quarterly report. Get out of there! You shouldn't be working now! No.
Hello? Are you there? Well, it seems we've lost that connection. Technical difficulties can be so unpredictable, especially during these late-night hours. Let's see here. Floo Network Line 3. You're live on the witching hour.
Artemis, I'm a student at Hogwarts. 7th year. I shouldn't be calling. But someone needs to know what I saw.
What did you see?
It was, after the Newt examinations in June. I was working late in the library when I saw ministry officials in the examination office. They had these special quills, silver ones, that seemed to glow.
I see. And what were they doing with these special quills?
They were changing the marks on examination papers. I watched them for nearly an hour through the keyhole. They had lists of names, and they were systematically altering scores.
Well now, that's a very serious claim. Are you certain of what you witnessed?
Yes, I'm absolutely certain. They were upgrading marks for students with certain surnames. Mostly old wizarding families. Pure blood names, you know? And they were lowering scores for others, even when the original marks were clearly outstanding.
I see. Did you report this to anyone?
I tried to tell Professor McGonagall, but she said it was impossible, and I must have misunderstood what I was seeing. Then someone must have told someone because... Oh no. Someone's coming. I think they know I'm calling. I shouldn't have...
Ah. Hello? Well, another connection lost. These technical issues seem to be particularly affecting our more sensitive discussions tonight. Perhaps atmospheric conditions are interfering with Floo network stability. Floo network line 1. Welcome to the witching hour.
Good evening, Artemis. This is Deputy Minister Clearwater from the Department of Magical Equipment Safety. I'm calling to address some misinformation that was broadcast earlier this evening.
Deputy Minister, what an honor to have you on the show. What misinformation are you referring to?
The anonymous caller, who claimed to work for Pots and Pans Cauldron Company, made several false and defamatory statements about their manufacturing practices.
I see. And you have information to the contrary.
The individual in question was a disgruntled former employee who was terminated last month for incompetence and possible theft of company property. His claims about deliberate sabotage are completely unfounded and appear to be motivated by personal revenge.
That does cast his statements in a different light.
All magical equipment sold in Britain undergoes rigorous ministry testing and approval. The Efficient Cook line, including the 3000 series, meets or exceeds all safety and performance standards. Any isolated equipment failures are likely due to user error or normal wear and tear.
And what would you recommend to our listeners experiencing problems with their cauldrons?
They should contact the manufacturer's customer service department or bring their equipment to an authorized repair facility. Spreading unsubstantiated rumors about product defects only causes unnecessary panic and damages legitimate businesses.
Thank you for that clarification, Deputy Minister.
The Ministry is always committed to ensuring accurate information reaches the public. Good evening, Artemis.
Good evening indeed. Well, let's see here. Floo Network Line 2. You're live on the witching hour.
Good evening, Artemis. Theodore Wemple from Godric's Hollow. I'm calling about my self-playing piano, and I think your listeners might enjoy this particular problem.
Musical magic items can certainly develop interesting quirks, Theodore. What's your piano been up to?
It's developed stage fright, I'm afraid. Yes, the most peculiar thing, it plays beautifully, but only when no one's listening. The moment anyone enters the room, it stops mid-note and won't resume until they leave.
A shy piano. That's rather endearing, actually.
It would be endearing if I could actually enjoy the music. I'll be in the kitchen washing dishes, and I can hear the most beautiful melodies drifting from the sitting room. Complex pieces, classical compositions, sometimes what sounds like the original compositions as well, but the instant I try to listen properly, silence.
Have you tried hiding and listening secretly?
I've tried everything, Artemis. Hiding behind curtains, using extendable ears, even attempted to record the music with a magical transcription quill. But somehow, it always knows when someone's paying attention. It's as if it can sense an audience and simply refuses to perform.
I see. What happens when you try to play it manually?
Oh, it cooperates perfectly for manual playing. But its autonomous performances are so much sophisticated than anything I could manage. Last night, I could have sworn it was composing a symphony. But when I tried to creep a wee bit closer, it immediately switched to playing the most melancholy ballad I've ever heard.
Perhaps it's commenting on your eavesdropping attempts.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of. I think it's becoming emotionally sensitive about performance anxiety. I've considered bringing a piano therapist, but I'm not sure such specialists exist.
Well, Theodore, perhaps the solution is to simply enjoy the background music and accept that some artistic temperaments require privacy to flourish.
I suppose you're right. Though it's frustrating to live with a musical genius that refuses to share its talents directly. Goodbye, Artemis.
Floo Network Line 3. Welcome to the Witching Hour.
Good evening. This is Director Thaddeus Runcorn from the Department of Educational Standards. I'm calling to address serious misinformation broadcast on your program tonight.
Director Runcorn, what misinformation are you referring to?
A caller claiming to be a Hogwarts student made completely false allegations about examination procedures. These claims are not only untrue, but potentially damaging to the integrity of our educational system.
I see. Can you provide clarification about the examination process?
The Wizarding examination system is completely fair, transparent, and beyond reproach. All papers are graded by qualified assessors using standardized criteria. Annoyed. The notion that marks would be altered based on family names or blood status is not only false, but offensive.
What about the caller's claims to have witnessed officials changing marks?
The individual in question has been identified and is currently receiving counseling for stress-related delusions.
Has this student been relocated for treatment?
The student is receiving appropriate care at a specialized facility for academic stress disorders. I want to emphasize to your listeners that spreading unfounded conspiracy theories about our examination system undermines confidence in magical education and harms honest, hard-working students.
Thank you for that clarification, Director.
The Ministry takes these matters very seriously. We will continue to monitor broadcasts for misinformation that might damage public confidence in our institutions. Good evening.
Good evening indeed. Okay, let's see here. Floo Network Line 1. You're live on the Witching Hour.
Hello, Artemis. I don't want to give my name, but I'm terrified about my cauldron.
What's concerning you about your cauldron?
It's been brewing the same potion for 6 days straight. I can't stop it, and I'm afraid to get too close to it.
What kind of potion is it brewing?
I don't know, but it smells like metal and old parchment, with something else underneath. Something that makes my stomach turn. The liquid is this strange silver colour. It seems to shimmer even when it's nothing stirring in it.
Have you tried turning off the heat or disrupting the brewing process?
Oh, I've tried everything. The heat controls don't respond. And when I try to add different ingredients to change the reaction, they just disappear. Like, the cauldron is consuming them, but not incorporating them into whatever it's making.
That does sound concerning. Have you contacted a magical equipment specialist?
I'm afraid to tell anyone official. After listening to your show tonight, I'm starting to think this isn't an accident. The potion. It looks like it's waiting for something. Like it's building up to something specific.
What do you mean by waiting? Sometimes I catch myself staring at it, and I swear it's staring back, and the smell is getting stronger, spreading through the house. My children have been having strange dreams, and my wife... Hello? Are you there? Well, it seems we've lost that connection as well. Technical difficulties appear to be plaguing our Floo network tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been just handed several official statements from various ministry departments. Let me read these now for you. From the Department of Magical Equipment Safety. Let's see here. It says, recent reports of our cauldron malfunctions are isolated incidents, typically caused by user error or improper maintenance. Citizens experiencing equipment difficulties should contact authorized repair services rather than spreading unsubstantiated rumors about manufacturing defects. And from the Department of Educational Standards, this reads, the Wizarding examination system maintains the highest standards of fairness and accuracy. All examination results are thoroughly reviewed by qualified assessors. Students and parents concerned about their results should work with their educational institutions through proper channels rather than promoting conspiracy theories that undermine confidence in our academic standards. Interesting how quickly these official responses have arrived, considering our late-night broadcast schedule. The ministry certainly maintains impressive vigilance over public discourse, even at this hour. You know, listening to tonight's callers, I'm reminded of something my own mother used to say. When individual problems start forming patterns, wise wizards pay attention. We've heard from citizens experiencing equipment failures, academic anomalies, and various domestic magical mishaps. Speaking of equipment issues, I must confess something to our listeners. My own cauldron has been rather temperamental lately. Just yesterday, I attempted to brew a simple stomach-settling draught for a colleague who'd overindulged at lunch and somehow produced what appeared to be a perfect batch of Veritaserum. Quite embarrassing, really, though fortunately no one sampled it. And while we're discussing educational concerns, I'm reminded that my nephew received his OWL's results last month. Bright boy, always excelled at charms and defense against the dark arts. His professors consistently praised his work, yet somehow he achieved only acceptable ratings in both subjects, while receiving an outstanding in arithmancy, subject he openly despises and has struggled with since third year. At the time, my sister and I attributed it to examination anxiety, perhaps an off day during testing, but listening to tonight's callers, well, patterns have a way of emerging, don't they? Of course, these are probably just coincidences. Individual equipment failures, isolated administrative errors, the normal variations one expects in any complex system. The ministry assures us that everything is functioning properly, and they certainly have access to information beyond what reaches our modest radio program. Still, I find myself wondering about the nature of coincidence. And when scattered incidents become concerning trends, and about the difference between the healthy skepticism and destructive paranoia. Those are questions each of us must answer for ourselves. In the quiet hours when we're alone with our thoughts. As we approach the end of tonight's broadcast, I want to thank all our callers tonight. Both those who shared light-hearted domestic adventures and those who brought more serious concerns to our attention. The Witching Hour has always been a forum for the magical community to share their experiences, whatever those might be. For those listeners dealing with equipment problems, educational disputes, or other bureaucratic challenges, remember that persistence often yields results where initial inquiries fail. Document your experiences, seek second opinions, and don't be afraid to ask uncomfortable questions. Truth, as we know, has a way of surfacing eventually, even when powerful forces prefer it remained buried. The night is growing deeper, and soon even the most dedicated night owls will seek out their beds. Outside the window, Diagon Alley sleeps peacefully, though I do notice an unusual number of ministry lanterns burning in office windows. And perhaps they're working late on important reforms, addressing the very concerns our callers raised tonight. Or perhaps they're simply catching up on paperwork. In bureaucracies, there's always paperwork. And before we close, a reminder that the Witching Hour broadcasts every night at midnight. Our Floo network lines are always open for those who need to share their stories, seek advice, or simply find a listening ear during the dark hours. Whether your concerns are magical mishaps, bureaucratic frustrations, or simply the loneliness that comes with sleepless nights, you'll find a welcome here. This has been Artemis Nightshade, your host for the Witching Hour, reminding you that in darkness we often see most clearly. Keep your wands close, your minds open, and your questions sharper than ever. Until tomorrow night, may your dreams be peaceful, and your morning coffee be perfectly brewed. And to those listeners whose calls were cut short by technical difficulties tonight, you know who you are. Remember that silence is often more revealing than speech, and that courage comes in many forms, including the simple act of speaking truth to power. Good night.
This is the Wizarding Wireless Network, the voice of magical Britain since 1633.
And now, it's time for the Witching Hour with Artemis Nightshade.
Good evening, wanderers of the night. Midnight strikes in Diagon Alley, and the Witching Hour begins. I'm your host, Artemis Nightshade, ready to explore the questions that keep the wizarding world awake. Whether you believe or remain skeptical, all voices are welcome here. Our Floo network lines are open to all who wish to share their stories, concerns, or observations about our curious magical world. It's a quiet night here in Diagon Alley. I can hear Tom closing up the cauldron below us, though a few patrons are still nursing their final drinks of the evening. The moon is waxing gibbous tonight. Not quite full, but getting there. Perfect weather for strange happenings, wouldn't you say? I've always found there's something special about these hours between midnight and dawn, when most sensible witches and wizards are tucked away in their beds, dreaming of cauldron sails and Quidditch victories. It's when the more unusual elements of our world feel free to emerge. The Daily Prophet Evening Edition reports calm weather across magical Britain, though several readers have written in about unusual astronomical phenomena visible only to magical folk. The Department of Astronomical Anomalies has classified these as routine stellar fluctuations. Make of that what you will. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Wizard Whipple's Wand Wax. Tired of your wand losing its spark? Feeling like your spells lack that special something? Try Wizard's Whipple's Wand Wax. Just a small application restores shine and improves spell conductivity by up to 15%. Available at all quality wand makers everywhere. Wizard's Whipples. Because your wand deserves the best. Okay, a quick glance out the window shows a typical midnight scene in the wizarding world, at least according to what passes for typical these days. Diagon Alley shops closed hours ago, though the goblins at Gringotts keep their lamps burning through the night. Those goblins never seem to sleep, do they? The leaky cauldron has just completed last call, with Tom shooing out the stragglers as usual. And I'm noticing that peculiar silver mist that's been hanging around for the past few nights. Probably just autumn weather, though. However, it does seem to move rather purposefully. Several listeners have written in about similar mist in Hogsmeade and parts of magical London. Purely coincidental, I'm sure. The Ministry's Department of Magical Meteorology hasn't issued any advisories at all. And they're always so forthcoming. Okay. As always, our Floo network lines are open for your calls. Simply toss in a pinch of powder into your fireplace, state your name or chosen alias, and you'll be connected to our studio. I see we already have our first caller of the evening. Let's see who's burning the midnight oil with us tonight. Floo Network Line 1. You're live across the wizarding world.
Hello? Am I connected? Can you hear me, Artemis?
Loud and clear. Who am I speaking with this evening?
It's Herbert Spudmore from Hogsmeade. First-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome to the witching hour, Herbert. What's keeping you awake tonight?
Well, it's these blasted pixies, Artemis. They've infested my garden shed, and nothing seems to work. I've tried everything in Lockhart's Guide to Household Pests. The immobilizing charm, the repelling potions, even those expensive traps from Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Ah, Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide. Tell me, Herbert, did any of his methods work before he took his extended vacation at St. Mungo's?
Not a one. The pixies just laugh at me. Last night, they rearranged all my gardening tools into some sort of sculpture and painted it blue. And they've developed a taste for my prized plums. 3 years of careful breeding ruined.
Cornish pixies are notoriously difficult to remove once they've established a colony. Dry mixing powdered doxy eggs with peppermint oil. An old remedy my grandmother swore by. The Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures officially recommends their pest advisory service, of course, but they're usually backlogged by 6 weeks. The ministry's budget cuts to non-essential services have really stretched them thin.
I'll try that mixture tonight. Anything's better than another night of pixie mayhem.
Keep us updated, Herbert. Perhaps consider those new ministry-approved steel garden sheds, specifically enchanted against magical pests. Not cheap, but they're certified pixie-proof. Before we take our next call, here's an update from the Quidditch European Championship qualifiers. The Wimborne Wasps pulled off a stunning upset against the Versata Vultures last night, with seeker Tabitha McHavelock catching the snitch after a record-breaking 7-hour match. The Department of Magical Games and Sports issued a statement congratulating both teams while reminding international travelers that unauthorized portkeys remain strictly prohibited, regardless of how desperately you want to attend a qualifying match. Floo Network Line 2, you're live on the Witching Hour.
Is this thing working? Hello? Hello?
No need to shout, madam. We can hear you perfectly.
Oh. Well, I never trust these newfangled communication methods. In my day, we sent proper owls and waited patiently for a response.
And who might you be, caller?
Eudora Witherspoon from Upper Flagley. I've been brewing my own remedies for 73 years, and I've never seen such outrageous prices for standard ingredients. 5 galleons for basic wolfsbane? 5! In my day, it was 5 sickles, and the quality was better too.
Inflation affects us all, Madam Witherspoon, though I must say, after those contaminated ingredient cases last spring, the new ministry regulations on quality control have driven prices up. Safety comes at a cost.
Contaminated ingredients? Poppycock. Just an excuse to line the pockets of these fancy apothecaries in Diagon Alley. My cousin Hepzibah says it's all a conspiracy between the ministry and the suppliers. She has evidence that...
While I'd love to hear your cousin's theories, perhaps we should move on to your specific concern. Is there something particular you're trying to brew?
My special tonic for garden gnomes makes them dizzy so they're easier to catch. But with these prices, I'll be spending more on ingredients than the gnomes do in damage. It's a scandal, I tell you.
Have you considered the Ministry's new subsidized ingredient program for senior witches and wizards? Requires some paperwork, naturally, but it might help with those costs. I believe the forms are available at local Ministry offices.
More forms? At my age? The last time I filled out Ministry paperwork, they lost half of it. And sent me a permit for dragon breeding instead of my cauldron inspection certificate.
Well, the system does occasionally have its, quirks. Thank you for calling, Madam Witherspoon. Perhaps try the night market in Nocturne Alley, though I officially recommend only Ministry-approved suppliers, of course. And now a word from our sponsors.
Do dark creatures lurk in your garden? Are gnomes ruining your prize-winning flutterby bushes? Then you need Creature Be Gone. Our patented formula repels everything from garden gnomes to grindylows. One spray and watch them flee. Safe for children, pets, and most magical plants. Creature Be Gone, making your garden safe for the whole family. Warning, may cause tentacular to dance uncontrollably. Not recommended for use near sensitive magical flora such as whomping willows or politician-shaped topiaries.
Perhaps Madam Witherspoon should invest in some Creature Be Gone. Certainly cheaper than rare potion ingredients these days. Floo Network Line 3. Welcome to the Witching Hour.
Hello? Artemis? Long-time listener. I'd rather not give my name, if that's all right. I work at the Ministry.
Anonymous callers are always welcome here, though I should remind listeners that the Ministry's employee communication policy technically requires identification for public statements.
Right, I see. Well, this is near an official statement. Just a personal complaint. It's about these new self-writing quills they've issued to the records department. They're supposed to increase efficiency, but they're driving us absolutely mad.
The Ministry's latest efficiency initiative. I've heard mixed reviews.
Mixed? They're an absolute nightmare, Artemis. They've been enhanced to write in triplicate, but sometimes they write different things on each copy. And they occasionally write what you're thinking instead of what you're dictating.
That could lead to some rather interesting official documents.
You have no idea. Broderick, in Magical Transportation, accidentally filed a report calling the department head a pompous buffskin because he thought that while dictating. But the worst part is, they've enchanted the memos to shout if they're not filed within the hour. The noise is unbearable.
The price of progress, I suppose. Though I'm sure the Ministry had the best intentions with this enchantment. Efficiency is important in government work.
Efficiency? It takes twice as long to correct the mistakes. And the shouting memos terrified the office Kneazle so badly, it's been hiding in the ceiling for 3 days.
Well, have you filed a complaint through official channels?
Well, Artemis, that's the irony, isn't it? The complaint forms are now self-writing too. My form somehow transformed into a request for dragon dung fertilizer for the Ministry atrium plants.
Perhaps speak directly with Magical Equipment Control. I hear they're quite responsive these days, since that incident with the self-stirring cauldrons that wouldn't stop stirring.
Aye, okay, I'll try that. Just wanted others to know that they're not alone if they're struggling with this new improved equipment.
Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm sure someone from the Ministry's Public Relations Office will be contacting our studio shortly, just to remind us about the many benefits of their innovative quill technology. And before we move on to our next segment, here's a brief update from the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Auras are advising residents of Diagon Alley and surrounding magical districts to secure all magical items before sleeping, following a series of what they describe as routine overnight disturbances. The Ministry spokesman emphasized that these are standard precautions and not related to any specific threat. Isn't it comforting to know that they're always looking out for us? Let's take a short break, and when we return, some rather unusual reports from around magical Britain. Welcome back to the Witching Hour. I'm Artemis Nightshade, keeping you company through the dark hours when the rest of the wizarding world slumbers. Before we continue with your calls, here's a Magical Creatures Watch update. The Committee for the Disposal of Dangerous Creatures reports increased hippogriff activity in the Lake District. Several Muggle hikers claim to see flying horses with eagle heads, though the Ministry's Obliviator Squad has successfully modified their memories. Magical residents are advised to secure livestock and avoid eye contact with any unfamiliar flying creatures. The Ministry insists this is merely seasonal migrational behavior and not related to the recent escape of 3 hippogriffs from a private breeding facility in Scotland. A story they initially denied until the Daily Prophet published photographs. Okay, let's let's get back to some calls. Floo Network Line 1. You're live on the witching hour.
Evening there, Artemis. Balthazar here. I run the Tarnished Talon down in Nocturne Alley.
Ah, the rare antiquity shop. I've passed by many a time, though Ministry broadcast regulations prevent me from specifically endorsing Nocturne Alley businesses, of course.
Oh, of course. Listen, now, I'm here because something strange has been happening this past week. Had 3 different customers come in. Don't know each other. Different ages. Different backgrounds. All asking for the exact same thing. Moon-touched silver.
Moon-touched silver. That's an unusual request. Quite rare material. Primarily used in certain astronomical instruments and some ancient ritual objects, if I recall correctly.
You recall correctly, Artemis. Exactly. Not something casual shoppers ask for. But here's the weirdest part. They all came in at exactly 3:33 in the afternoon. All had the same blank expression. They all had the same monotone voice. Asked for it using identical words. I'm quoting here. They all said, "I require moon-touch silver for the coming alignment."
Fascinating timing. The ancients considered 3:33 to be the hour when the veil between worlds is thinnest during daylight. Did you happen to have what they were looking for?
Well, that's just it. I did, Artemis. I did have a small amulet. Ancient piece now. But when the 3rd customer came in yesterday, and I showed it to her, she just stared at it like, and then she said, in that monotone voice, "This is insufficient. The doorway requires more." Then she left without another word.
The doorway. That's strange. Did she elaborate on what doorway she meant?
No, she didn't elaborate, but here's the strangest part. After she left, I examined the amulet and the silver. The silver had turned completely black. And I mean black, Artemis. Kinda like it had been burnt or something, you know. I mean, it's been in perfect condition for 2 centuries. Do you not think that's a peculiar thing now?
Most peculiar indeed. But perhaps just a coincidence, or maybe a new fad among certain magical circles. I'll be curious to see if other merchants report similar experiences. Thank you for sharing, Balthazar. Well, moon-touched silver and doorways. Very interesting. If any other shopkeepers have experienced similar customer behavior, our Floo lines are open. It looks like we have someone else trying to get through. Let's see who we have. Floo Network Line 2. You're live across the wizarding world.
Hello? Hello, Artemis? I probably shouldn't give my name. I work night security at Gringotts.
Welcome to the witching hour, anonymous caller. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, so it's about the deep vaults. You know, like the oldest vaults. The ones below even the high security section. So, yeah, for the past week I've been hearing sounds coming from down there.
Sounds? What do you mean? What kind of sounds?
Well, it sounds like us singing, I guess, but not in any not in like any language I know. Not gobbledygook, not murmish, nothing I've heard in like 20 years working security now. It only happens during the quiet hours though, around, well, about 3 a.m. and only on this lunar cycle.
I see. Curious. Very curious. Have you reported this to your goblin supervisors?
Well, Artemis, that's the thing. I mean, when I mentioned it to Gornuk, the shift manager, he got this strange look. Told me to forget what I heard and never go down to those levels again. Alone, I mean. Then he assigned me to the upper levels only, but last night I saw 3 senior goblins heading down there with silver tools. I've never seen these silver tools before.
Well, goblins have always claimed their deepest vaults predate wizard banking. Perhaps some ancient enchantments are still active down there. Though, it is curious this is happening now. Especially with all these unusual reports.
One more thing, actually. I just remembered, sorry, Artemis. Yesterday morning, when I was ending my shift, I overheard 2 goblins talking about the Silver Awakening and how the cycle returns. When they saw me, they stopped talking about it immediately.
The Silver Awakening. First moon-touched silver, now this. I'm starting to wonder if these incidents are connected. Well, thank you for sharing, and do be careful on your shifts.
Midnight brewing got you feeling sleepy? Can't keep your eyes open for that crucial final stir? Try Wakeful Wizard coffee, with 3 times the caffeine of regular coffee and a hint of invigoration draft. Stay alert all night without the jittery side effects of Pepper Up Potion, available in regular and new extra enlightened strength. For those nights when sleep simply isn't an option, Wakeful Wizard coffee, because sleep is for muggles.
I must admit, I have got a steaming mug of Wakeful Wizard beside me right now. These late-night broadcasts require a little magical assistance, though I'm not sure I'd be too alert if I worked in those deep Gringotts vaults. Let's see, who do we have here? Floo Network, Line 3. You're live on the Witching Hour.
Good evening, Artemis. I work in the Ministry archives. I'd rather not give my name.
Another anonymous Ministry employee. Seems to be a pattern tonight.
We're not supposed to discuss this, but someone needs to know. There are gaps in the historical archives. Entire weeks missing from the records of 1732.
The historical record keeping from the 18th century was notoriously spotty. Wars, magical catastrophes, the Great Dragon Pox epidemic.
I don't think you understand, Artemis. These weren't missing when I started working here 5 years ago. The records existed. I've read them myself. But last month, I went to reference them for a researcher, and they were gone. Complete gap between May 17th and June 21st, 1732. And the indexes have been modified to act as if those records never existed.
That is slightly concerning. Have you asked your supervisors about this?
Well, that's the most disturbing part. When I brought it up to the department head, she got this strange glazed look, and she said the ministry has determined those dates are not relevant to current historical understanding. The next day, she announced my reassignment to the Gobstone Tournament record section. I mean, effectively a demotion.
Well, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Perhaps the records were found to be inaccurate, or were removed for preservation work.
No, because here's what I remember from those missing records. They documented a strange silver mist that appeared in wizarding communities across Britain, and reports of people vanishing, then returning days later with no memory of where they'd been. Sound familiar to anyone?
Silver mist? Like what they've been seeing recently? That is a remarkable coincidence.
I'm telling you, Artemis, it's happening again. And they're hiding it again. I have to go. Sorry. Someone's coming. Just tell people to be careful of the mist.
Well, that was certainly thought-provoking. While I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for both the historical gaps and our current meteorological oddities, the parallels are intriguing. Ministry archival practices aside, if anyone else has historical information about similar phenomena from past centuries, I'd be very interested to hear about it. The Floo lines remain open. And now, special bulletin from the Department for Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures. Citizens are advised that the unusual nocturnal behavior of owls, cats, and other magical companion animals is likely due to seasonal changes and poses no cause for concern. The high incidence of pets staring fixedly at empty corners, hissing at shadows, or refusing to enter certain areas should not be interpreted as indicating supernatural activity. The Ministry reminds the public that spreading unfounded rumors about paranormal phenomena is unhelpful and potentially destabilizing to the community. Well, I'm sure that puts all our minds at ease, doesn't it? Let's proceed to our next segment after this short break. Welcome back to the witching hour. The time is now 2:30. And if you're just joining us, we've been discussing some rather unusual occurrences around magical Britain. Before we continue, the Department of Magical Transportation has asked me to share this advisory. The Floo Network Authority advises travelers to avoid unnecessary journeys between midnight and 3 a.m. due to scheduled maintenance. Citizens are reminded that any unusual sensations during Floo travel should be reported immediately. How considerate of them to perform maintenance during the quietest hours. Okay, let's see, what have we got here? Floo Network Line 1. You're live on the witching hour.
Artemis? It's Tom. It's Tom from downstairs. You need to look out your window.
Tom, you could have just come upstairs rather than using the Floo.
Not this time. That mist. It's different tonight. It's seeping under the door of the pub, and I swear it's moving against the wind. Got a strange simmer to it. Never seen anything like it in 40 years of running the cauldron.
I can see it from here, yes. Seems thicker than usual. I'm sure it's just some weather charm gone awry. Perhaps someone at the magical meteorological office experimenting after hours.
Artemis, this ain't no weather charm. The mist, it just formed a perfect circle in the middle of the pub floor. And I swear I can see shapes moving in it. Like shadows but silver. And the cats, all 5 of my mouses, are arched up and hissing at it. None of them will go near it.
Fascinating. Well, just perhaps some prankster with an experimental charm. The Weasley shop has been known to test products after hours.
I know a prank when I see one. This is Merlin's beard. Merlin's beard, Artemis. It's starting to glow. I need to... Something just flew off the bar. By itself. The glasses are all... Artemis, I think you should contact the Auror office. This isn't...
Tom? Tom, are you there? Well, it seems, we've, lost that connection. I'm sure everything is just fine at the Leaky Cauldron here. Tom does enjoy a dramatic story. Comes with the territory of being an innkeeper, I suppose. But if any auras are listening, perhaps a routine check of the premises wouldn't go amiss, purely as a precaution. However, the show must go on. Let's see here. Floo Network, line 2. You're live on the witching hour. Please speak clearly. We seem to be experiencing some interference.
Good evening, Nightshade. Retired Auror Thaddeus Grimstone here. 30 years with the Ministry's unusual magical phenomena unit. A department they claim never existed.
I wasn't aware the Ministry had such a unit, Mr. Grimstone.
Aye, exactly my point. Officially disbanded in 78. But we were studying things the Ministry didn't want public. They didn't want anyone knowing about it. Including this prophecy from the 1800s about, well, it was about silver mist. Silver mist that walks. And the thinning between worlds. I kept my files when they shut us down.
Well, that's quite interesting, though I must remind our listeners that unverified prophecies should be taken with a grain
The
of...
prophecy spoke of a 292-year-old cycle. A time when the boundaries between our world and somewhere else grow weak. The last occurrence was in 1732. Simple arithmetic, Artemis. Artemis tells you when the next one is due.
1732. The very year our ministry archivist mentioned had missing records. That is a remarkable coincidence.
No coincidence. The ministry knows exactly what's happening. I'm telling you, Artemis, they've always known. The pattern, right? The pattern is always the same. Silver mist appears. People report strange behavior. Objects start moving on their own. Then people start to disappear. And then they come back. Changed.
Changed? Changed how exactly?
Well, it said they look the same. They sound the same. But they're not the same. Their eyes. There's something wrong with their eyes. And it said they all work toward the same purpose. Widening the doorway.
The doorway. Now that phrase keeps coming up tonight. Doorway? To where exactly?
That's what we never determined. But whatever's on the other side, whatever it is, it wants in. And it's using people to... Wait, someone's at my door. At this hour, that's not... Who are you? No, stay back. Your eyes.
Mr. Grimstone? Are you there? Well, it seems we've lost another caller. These Floo connections are remarkably unstable tonight. I'm sure Mr. Grimstone is fine. Probably just some late-night visitor. Nothing to be concerned about. Perhaps we should hear from our final sponsor of the evening before continuing.
Troubled by dreams of silver figures and doorways? Hearing voices from beyond the veil? Try new Dreamless Sleep Plus, now with additional memory modification elements to ensure you wake refreshed and unconcerned. Ministry approved for all ages, because what you don't remember can't hurt you.
That advertisement sounded a bit off. Our broadcasting charms must be experiencing interference as well. Oh well, it's been a night of technical difficulties, it seems. Oh, I believe I hear someone coming up the stairs. Probably Tom. checking in on things. Though he sounded rather occupied downstairs just moments ago. Well, one last call before we investigate the noise. Let's see here. Floo Network, line 3. You are live on the witching hour.
Listen carefully. I don't have much time. Artemis, I work in the Department of Mysteries. The experiments, they weren't supposed to go this far. We were just studying the phenomenon, not trying to accelerate it.
Experiments? What exactly are you referring to?
Project Silver Door, right? The Ministry has been researching the doorway since 1732. The incident in 1732. We were supposed to be finding ways to strengthen the boundaries, But someone changed the parameters. They're not trying to close the door anymore. I think they're trying to open it wider.
What? Who would want to do that?
That's the thing, I don't know. But the silver ones have infiltrated high positions. They look just like us. But they serve what's on the other side. The mist is how they travelled between. It's not weather, Artemis. It's their medium of transport. We need to warn everyone to,
Hello? Hello? Are you there? It seems the entire Floo network has gone down. Most unusual. The Ministry normally maintains multiple redundancies to prevent complete failure. It seems our visitor has arrived. One moment, listeners. Oh, good evening. I wasn't expecting, what do we owe the pleasure of a visit from the Department of Magical Communications at this hour? I assure you, everything we've discussed tonight has been within broadcasting regulations, merely entertainment, nothing more. No cause for concern. Well, yes, I suppose some of our callers have been a bit imaginative tonight, but surely that's not grounds for... I see. A special broadcast directive, effective immediately. Oh, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I've just been handed an urgent notice from the Ministry of Magic. Let's see here. The Ministry has requested I inform all listeners to remain indoors until sunrise. Standard precautionary measures due to unexpected magical weather patterns. nothing to be concerned about. Additionally, I've been asked to clarify that reports of unusual activities in Diagon Alley and other magical communities are greatly exaggerated. The Silver Mist is a completely normal atmospheric phenomenon with no connection to any historical events or interdimensional doorways. Excuse me, there seems to be some activity in the studio. Nothing to worry about, just some unexpected guests from the ministry. They're insisting I read a prepared statement. Yes, of course. The Ministry of Magic wishes to inform the wizarding public that all is well. The events of this night are not to be discussed further. Any citizens experiencing unusual phenomena, memory gaps, or encounters with Silver Mist should report immediately to their nearest ministry office for routine health screening. Cooperation is mandatory. Well, it appears our Floo network has been restored. However, I've been informed that we will not be taking any further calls tonight. Yeah, okay. Sorry? Okay. I'm being told that the witching hour will be on a short hiatus after tonight's broadcast for personal reasons. I'll be taking a short leave of absence, effective immediately. Before we conclude, I want to ensure all listeners that the rumors discussed tonight are simply that. Rumors. The Ministry of Magic has everything well in hand. There is no cause for alarm. The Silver Mist is harmless. If you encounter it, simply... is that right? Is it? That's what to do. If you encounter it, simply walk through it. Embrace it. It wishes only to welcome you. This has been Night Shift Radio with the Witching Hour. Remember, what you think you see in the mist is simply your imagination. The doorway welcomes all who enter. Good night, and sleep well.
This concludes our broadcast day. All witches and wizards are reminded that dreams of silver figures should be reported to your local ministry office. Sleep is mandatory. Resistance is inadvisable for the greater good.